mentioned the selling of Panandean Resources.
Well, I got into trouble on the sale of Panandean Resources. It's a common known fact. I mean, it was one of the first trades I did, whereby, it's a long story, but basically Panandean Resources was a small company involved in oil in South America, Bolivia, and it was very, very popular in the stock market. It was a stock that was being very heavily promoted by some quite skillful Irish talkers, who had got a big following in Ireland and England to buy this stock because there was supposed to be a huge amount of oil that they were about to discover, and they were drilling and it was going to come out any day. And I had a client who asked me what I thought of Panandean. So I did what I thought any normal responsible broker should do. I rang up Panandean. Well, I found out that they were supposed to be drilling in Bolivia. So I rang up and I spoke to a girl. It was shortly before the market closed on a Thursday night. And I said, how's it going in Bolivia? And she said, oh, well, they've plugged and abandoned the well, and the rig's being sort of dismantled now, and they're on the way home. So I said, oh, thanks very much. And shorted the shares. Lost my job, got hauled up by the DTI, and spent a year in a tedious, boring underground offices in Victoria Street in the DTI, lecturing dim-witted regulators about why I'd done it, and in the end no charges were pressed, but a lot of people said that I was completely wrong. I would say to those people who had put their clients into this company without doing any research at all into it, that why weren't they ringing up Bolivia and finding out what was going on? You know, they were quite happy, and so all their clients lost a lot of money, and I was the one to blame shortly. I mean, in fact, I believe the company is still going strong, and I haven't followed it for 15 years, but you know, the stock went to about £1 on completely false and unrealistic hope. And anyway, whether I was never charged with insider dealing, but there was a suggestion that somehow I'd done something wrong, and I didn't see it that way at all. I'd still defend exactly what I did, and I would still ask the question, why didn't other people do it as well? And it wouldn't have created the false market that was in Panandean shares from no one bothering to find out what was going on.
Interesting. And what about any other extreme positive or negative traits that you've learned a great deal from?
Well, again, this is going over stuff I learned a lot from Regis, where I knew I was right and I was wrong, as I put it. I learned from Ray Marine, as I've said. I've learned a lot over the years not to be frightened of big institutions, which used to put me off. I used to think if Goldman Sachs came swooping in for a stake in a company that I thought was heading for bankruptcy or rubbish, well, I think, oh God, I must be missing something. Or Morgan Stanley, or a big broker goes and buys a respected hedge fund, buys a stake in a company. For instance, the other day, a hedge fund called Tosca Fund took a stake in Quindel, and the shares went sharply better. That to me, and that would I've learned that for that not to worry me now. I think, well, they're just wrong. They haven't done the work, and there are a lot of highly paid people who make silly decisions. And I'm not a respecter of. People always say it's a big challenge against me and other bears. They say, well, what does Lucian Myers know that Odey Asset Management or Morgan Stanley doesn't know? They're on the shareholders. He must be wrong. And that used to sort of be a concern. Now it's not a concern at all. I'm not bothered that, in fact, Tosca Fund dumped their stock in Quindel, and then Morgan Stanley bought a stake in Quindel, which they've then dumped. So whether or not they've dumped it, it just doesn't bother me. It does. If I think I'm right, it never surprises me. As I think I said earlier, when a company goes bust, there's normally always, if you look at companies that have gone bust over the last 10, 15 years, you'll find more often than not, I'd say, in the days, not the weeks, the days before they finally go under, some hedge fund goes and buys a great chunk of them. I don't understand it, but people do these things. I guess they're working on a sort of scattergun approach that they'll get one right and it'll do really well, and they're happy to have 9 go wrong. But in virtually all cases are inexplicable purchases of about to go bust stocks by hedge funds, which used to bother me, just doesn't anymore. I mean, if, for instance, Afrin, say somebody, Tosca Fund or somebody this very afternoon said, we've just taken 10% in Afrin, the share price would temporarily go up, it wouldn't bother me at all.